Quest for Planet X was my first piece of High Republic media, the High Republic being the era before the Phantom Menace that has since broken off into 3 different phases that take place at different points in the Star Wars timeline. This book taking place during the second phase, Quest of the Jedi, which actually takes place about 100 years before the main story of the series that takes place across phases 1 and 2. I have no idea why it was done this way, but the overarching story sees the Jedi searching for planets in the Outer Rim, a previously unexplored territory, with the people of the galaxy starting to form hyperspace lanes, basically space highways. This book taking place in Wave 2 of the publishing initiative. I know, it's very weird and confusing, as is most of the Star Wars timeline. This book is classified as a junior novel and is part of that wider series. The thing about the High Republic publishing line is that even the novels get confusing with classifications for novels including adult novels, young adult novels, and junior novels. It's one of the most convoluted and in-depth eras of Star Wars that constantly gets media that no one ever bothers to talk about. This book was announced at the Anaheim Star Wars Celebration from 2022 and was part of their High Republic panel and was written by Tessa Gratton, who has written 4 High Republic books since joining the Star Wars universe and has since started working on an upcoming Acolyte tie-in novel, The Crystal Crown. Based on their Wikipedia, they are female, male, and non-binary, or maybe that just means we call them whatever the hell we want. I don't really know how that works, to be honest. I'm just a dude. Quest for Planet X takes place in 382 BBY, quite a ways before the original trilogy, and stars Rupert Nitani, a Jedi Padawan who was away from her master Salandra Show, who was off fighting the Battle of Jedha City. Rupert, blowing time virtually unsupervised, meets with her friend Das, who invites her to help find Planet X, a strange planet he and his father, a galactic explorer and a prospector, discovered, crashing their ship there, which Rupert hopes to find. This is when Das decides to introduce Rupert to Sky Gaff, a person who has a ship that they are able to fly. The ship is basically a luxury yacht, and Sky took it off their brother, who is entering a thing called a hyperspace race, where a bunch of ships race to find planets, and then they can sell some routes to those planets for a huge amount of credits. This, of course, leads to a bit of infighting at the starting line, and Sky's brother attempting to stop them from stealing his ship. They get away and they fly, and then they fly some more. Then Salandra hits up Rupert and is pissed, and Das's dad, who calls and is also disappointed in the group for taking off on this dangerous quest, along with a few more visits from Sky's brother. The story ends with them seemingly finding the coordinates or coming close, but Rupert was recalled by Salandra to head to the planet Dalana, and I guess they never found Planet X. I don't know what to tell you guys, I didn't write the book. But at the conclusion, Sky learns to be their self or something, so it didn't matter that they didn't find it. I don't know. I just listened to the free audiobook on the Hoopa library app, so I guess there didn't need to be any sort of conclusion to the book for me. Maybe if I paid for it, I would have got one. I don't know. Rupert Nitani is our lead and is a fairly young 15-year-old Padawan who is on her own after her master, Salandra Show, who is off at Jedha City during the events of the Battle of Jedha, which was primarily shown in the High Republic 2023 comic series, though also had an audio drama and a couple young adult books about it. Anyhow, she's not around, so Rupert is on her own and befriends Das and Sky, eventually entering a hyperspace prospector race thing, which the group wants to do to find Das Lefbrook's father's lost ship on a planet known as Planet X. Rupert's main goal in the book is to prove they can take the initiative, and is often hesitant to push that hard to get to Planet X, where Sky and Das both really want to go and are willing to risk it all to get there for their own motivations. Das Lefbrook is the prospector's son and a wannabe prospector in his own right, who looks like the main character from Digimon. He's desperate to get to Planet X so he can find his dad's old ship and reclaim the family honor, but eventually realizes it's too dangerous and that sometimes you gotta just let stuff go. He's okay, but honestly sidelined a bit despite being the crux of the plot on this one in favor of Sky and Rupert, which in all fairness is fine since Sky's brother is kind of the pseudo-antagonist, or at least the crux of the conflict, and Rupert's a Jedi with Jedi shit going on. Both of which I guess is more interesting than Das being sad that he can't find a spaceship. Sky Gaff comes into the book and is our first non-binary character we've talked about on our little journey through the Star Wars universe on this channel. This seems to be a recurring theme, since I already went through another High Republic project that also has a trans person. So I guess they sneak these themes into Star Wars in the bleachers far away from the prying eyes of the woke haters or whatever. I will say putting these themes in felt inherently a bit shoehorned since it's barely referenced in the plot as anything that impacts Sky's life. But that is kind of the duality of something like this. On one hand, you don't want to address it and have it seem pointless. But if you do address it, then it feels like the story is only about trans people, and you can kind of lose the plot, unless that is meant to be the plot, which in a Star Wars story I think is probably kind of hard to do. Honestly, it doesn't really matter, but that's my opinion on the matter. I know literally nothing about trans people in real life, or even if trans person is the current terminology. I think it is. I do think that this character is kind of meant to reflect the author's gender identity, so this may be a bit of a self-insert or perhaps someone based on their time in the non-binary community. I really have no idea, frankly. Their brother is Helios Graf, whose ship Sky commandeers to try to prove themselves as a pilot and adventurer, coming from an affluent family. There is a rivalry there, but then the duo end up burying the animosity and it's all good. Sky also thinks Rupert is hot, and occasionally thinks about that fact, though nothing remotely relevant happens regarding these thoughts, and we don't really see any follow-through on this. My biggest criticism with Sky is that along with Rupert, they kind of take up way too much airtime in the book, leaving Das, who frankly should be the lead since it's his journey, in the dust to kind of sit around and do nothing. Fel Lix is part of a group called the Path of the Open Hand, which honestly writing this I almost forgot about, but basically this guy wanted people to not use the Force, so he joined a cult. He's in a polyamorous relationship with another man, doll, as brother husbands with Freezy, who's the female companion they share. He kind of shows up to menace the group for like 2 seconds and leaves. But I thought having a polyamorous bisexual lizard man in this children's novel was a bit odd. I'm not a pearl clutcher by any means, I just thought that might have been a little much. This book is an adventure that is meant to be fun, and it kind of succeeds like 5% of the time, but it's mostly just really boring. It's a lot of talking about shit I don't really care about. Then they go into a convoluted race to create hyperspace lanes for points and money or whatever, which they use as a cover to find Planet X, which would allow them to win money so that Sky can get money and stuff. And Das can find his dad's ship and reclaim the family's honor while Rupert hangs around for seemingly little to no reason. It's honestly just so boring I couldn't care, and I have a hard time catching the tone since everyone just kind of sits there complaining about shit and recounting tales that are rarely plot relevant, though I guess it sort of kinda tries to tie back into this confusing and seemingly unnecessary race. I think I've been spoiled a bit with the Jedi Quest series since that has lore and action and adventure, a bit of romance even, Star Wars stuff. This book is just boring people talking about boring shit. Then a semantically confusing race happens. Call me old-fashioned, but I just figured a book called The Quest for Planet X would have a quest in it, possibly even Planet X if we were lucky. But what we ended up with was some chuckle fucks sitting around chatting, then a polyamorous bisexual lizard comes up, and then they quit the race without finding Planet X and the book kinda just ends. I guess if I had to conclude this video with a wraparound statement, it's that this book is fucking boring. I honestly think the polyamorous bisexual lizard could have led to some laughs, or perhaps if they wanted to take a more serious angle, he could be persecuted for that or something, but he went absolutely nowhere. The race made no sense, and the title is just a bold lie since there's no questing or Planet X for that matter.